What is poppin', y'all? It's your man, Club Boy Bills. Welcome to another episode of Wisco Sports Weekly, where today's episode, we're talking about the Milwaukee Brewers and what you can expect going into the rest of the offseason. I wanted to obviously start this video off by apologizing. After 2 months ago, obviously, the Brewers got eliminated from the postseason in one of the most heart-wrenching games in the whole franchise's history. By any means, it was tough to really see that happen, knowing that there was so much they were fighting for, but there's so much potential that we have with this franchise going forward. And honestly, obviously, I can't wait to really start talking Brewers once we get through the Packers season, because obviously as soon as the Packers are done, I officially start talking Brewers. And that's when I'm hoping to start my Brewers podcast. I really want to do it sooner than later. I said that I was going to do it, but I think I needed some time to really adjust going forward, knowing what's going to happen in the future. Regardless, if you like what you see, subscribe below, comment with your thoughts. And let's get down to business, everybody. So first off, there were some things that did happen already. Of course, we did give him a little Willy Adames, but obviously he declined the 1-year little offer thing, which everybody does. But Willy Adames is our big name free agent. He's obviously the big one that we all know is, unfortunately going to be likely gone from the team. The Brewers also decided to move on from Colin Ray and Bryce Wilson, as we've noticed. Look, with where we were at the end of last season, both of those guys kind of got phased out of the offense, and it's kind of a good thing. But thanks to those guys for doing basically everything. I think it was like DFAs, and then as well as Jake Bowers and Gary Sanchez. Brewers decided to get rid of both of those guys as well. And then finally, we literally tendered everybody except Hobie Milner, who was, I said, the only guy on the bullpen who really did not have a good year. Which makes sense, because you want to know something? Our bullpen really is starting to come together. Honestly, I feel like this team might even be slightly better this year than last year, which might be interesting because there's a lot to really think about. 2, we brought back Rhys Hoskins. Rhys Hoskins' original contract was a 2-year deal where he could opt out after the first year, but because of the season that he had, I think deep down he knew no one was going to want him, and he decided to come back to Milwaukee. Now, we could trade him, it's possible, but as of right now, there's a lot of holes to kind of figure out. Here's where I think we stand. A 26-man roster. I think the starting lineup will be Jackson Chourio, in no particular order, by the way. Jackson Chourio, Christian Yelich, William Contreras, Garrett Mitchell, Rhys Hoskins, Blake Perkins, Jory Ortiz, Bryce Terang, Andrew Monasterio. That would likely be your starting lineup starting next season for right-handed pitchers, by the way. On your bench, you obviously would have Sal Frelick. I know I'm like, wow, you put Blake Perkins over Sal Frelick, but it's hard not to sit there. I mean, they'll rotate in there. And for sure, Christian Yelich is going to be designated hitter. But yeah, Sal Frelick for sure will be there. Eric Haas was the only guy they actually re-signed to a 1-year deal, but he's there as well. I think obviously with Jake Bowers being gone, Tyler Black is now going to officially take over as the backup first baseman. Hopefully he has a really better season. And if I had to give my last spot to someone, because we did trade Owen Miller, I think we gave up on him. I think the only other guy we have that's on the team right now is Oliver Dunn. I think that's correct. Those would probably be the offensive guys. If we did not make any moves, that would be your starting 13 offensive players. On the pitching side, Freddie Peralta would likely be the ace once again. Brandon Woodruff, he should be ready to go at the start of the season. That's very important. Tobias Myers, for a rookie, had a phenomenal season, and I am expecting big things out of Tobias Myers. They also still have Aaron Savale. He still has another year left on his deal that when we got him in that trade. And then because likely none of those guys are lefties, we need a lefty. So my guess is DL Hall was really doing a lot better as of lately. And I think that spot's going to go to DL Hall. It's either going to go to Hall or Ashby. It's going to either one of the two. But my guess it'll be DL Hall because they're really shaping it up. And right now, our bullpen is probably going to be closer Devin Williams, and then Trevor McGill, who is a great setup guy, will probably be a setup guy. Jared Koenig, who is also really good at the setup spot, will also probably be setup guy as well, because obviously he's a lefty and he has a strong arm. And then the rest of the spots, I feel like go to Aaron Ashby, Joel Payamps, Brian Hudson, Nick Mears, and Abner Uribe. I think that's where it settles. That there is a 26-man roster that seems very compatible. A lot to really kind of go over, but the two big questions that I'm going over is Devin Williams. Now, the big talk was, will Devin Williams be traded? And I think that's a talk that a lot of people have been thinking about for a while. There have been kind of rumors going around already. For it and against it. And to be honest, I'm right in the middle. Would I keep him on the roster now and then maybe trade him later? That's something possible like they did with Josh Hader. That's very possible. But this is his last year of his contract, so this is different. So this would be the year you'd have to do it because that's exactly what they did with Corbin Burns last year. This would be very smart. They won't move him for pennies, but a good package that a team's going to say, hey, we'll give you these players for one of the best closers in all of baseball, expect him to be moved. Likely, if he was to be moved, my guess is that Trevor McGill would become the closer because obviously he did, I think, get like 20-something saves last year in relief, and he did a great job at the closer spot. And we proved last year we could win without Devin Williams. Williams missed a big chunk of the season last year, but we proved he could do it. And I think it's absolutely smart. McGill would make the closer role, and then with Williams being traded, this would open up an opportunity for prospect Jacob Mizorowski or Devi Garcia to be candidates for that roster spot. Obviously, we have a lot of young pitchers coming in there. Jacob Mizorowski is supposed to be the ace of the future. Or, I don't know, bullpen ace. I think, seeing that Brewers decided literally the last couple of years, the Brewers have been putting players right in AAA at the end of the season. They don't start them. They usually put them in there, and then boom, they're good. They're ready. They're absolutely ready. And I think Mizorowski is going to be that guy in the future. Devi Garcia, he's another guy that's obviously been doing really good in AAA or AA. This is another guy that could be a potential starter. Never know. But those two guys could definitely take a spot and then maybe be a starter in the future. But I really believe that Jacob Mizorowski will be on the starting roster if Devin Williams is traded. 100%. The other question, how do you replace Willy Adames? Obviously, I feel like he's going to leave. It's probable that he's going to leave. It hasn't been confirmed yet. Maybe in the coming days, a team's going to sign him. But without Adames, you leave the shortstop void. The shortstop void has been something the Brewers have been struggling to replace ever since J.J. Hardy left the Brewers in 2010. It's going to be a very hard thing to replace. They had Segura for a little bit. They had Arcia for a little bit. And then Adames was and I said it. Since Yount, Willy Adames is the best shortstop the Brewers have ever had since Robin Yount. I don't think there's ever going to be a better guy that they've ever had. But pretty much, it does leave a massive void. If Adames comes back, that'd be great. But if he leaves, which we are obviously all expecting him to leave, what are they going to do? Are they going to move Terang or Ortiz to shortstop? Because obviously they both were shortstops coming out of college. My belief, if Bryce Terang won a Gold Glove for second base, there's no way in heck I see them moving. Oh, well, the Platinum Glove. Bryce Terang cannot leave. Ortiz would make the most sense to move to shortstop. And then that's why I said Ortiz could start at shortstop, Monasterio can be at third. Because he's the only guy that has actual experience playing that position. Yeah, it makes sense. But you know what? You need to find options for Adames. And one free agent that a lot of people aren't considering is Ha-Seong Kim. He last played with the San Diego Padres. He's great at defense. Fantastic at defense. But clearly, with the way the Padres are going, they're likely not bringing him back because they're probably going to go with Arias and Bogart starting at second and short, which would obviously mean Ha-Seong Kim, his availability isn't really strong. And that would be smart. If they got Ha-Seong Kim, they'd probably stick him at shortstop, and then Ortiz could actually move back to third, and that would actually solve a big problem. Also, Sal Frelick. A lot of people forget that they experimented with him at third base last year. If they want to be able to start him knowing he is great defensively, because they obviously know we're going to have a strong outfield with, we already have Yelich, Perkins, Mitchell, and Chorio, and Frelick. That's a strong outfield, but those guys are also good defensively. Frelick is the only one that infield experience. Maybe they should really consider in spring training to do that with Frelick. It would be a smart idea, but you never know. Another guy is Gleyber Torres. He could be a good option. He was great for the New York Yankees. It's possible that Adames could be a Yankee next year. They are actually looking for a shortstop, possibly. And then Volpe could move to second base, and that's that. And then we could get Gleyber Torres. I don't think he'll play second. He'll probably play shortstop. I just don't think they should move. I think moving Terang would be a huge mistake, but that would be awesome. And cheap options at third base would be smart. If they were to get a third baseman, it would be a veteran who's had an up and down career, like Gio Urshela or Yoan Moncada. Yoan Moncada, a lot of people are even forgetting about. The last couple of years, he's been injured. I get the White Sox are a joke of an organization, but he's a guy you could definitely go in there. And then Urshela had to play third base for the Braves because of Austin Riley's injury. That would make a lot more sense. Those two guys would be smart. And even the Phillies because of the amount of money that they're spending on their people, they are not going to have room for Alec Boehm. So maybe the Brewers consider trading Devin Williams for Alec Boehm. It's very possible. That way you'd have a guy who obviously was the best third baseman in all of baseball last year. Boehm was great, and that would actually really fill that void. And then if moving on from Adames, you get Boehm, and you move on from Williams and get maybe a prospect out of it, it could be a great move. It really could be. And that's what I really think is really important. Addressing if you want to trade Devin Williams, and addressing how can you replace Willy Adames. As I said, they brought back Hoskins. They're not going to, I don't know if they're going to be, I think our pitching is going to actually be decent this year. I think it's our hitting and how we stay consistent. Pat Murphy won Manager of the Year for a reason, because he took a team that was supposed to finish dead last, and he took them to finish first in the division after everything that happened with 13 different starting pitchers, and yeah, it just so much happened. But that's very, very important. And the last thing I'll address is the long-term plan for Jacob Misiorowski. Now, the thing is, obviously a lot of people are expecting him to be a starter next year. Last year, Misiorowski spent his last 12 appearances in Nashville relieving. He posted a 1.84 ERA in that time. He improved his walk rate and maintained great strikeout numbers. And I think, knowing how the Brewers are smart, the thing is, I think they should have did it where DL Hall was not a starting pitcher, because I think he needed bullpen work to get himself into the position. I think it was a big flex to try to get DL Hall to be a starting pitcher, because clearly he wasn't ready. And I think, they did the same thing with Gasser, but Gasser was different. Gasser just came in there and he actually was looking dominant. Now, it sucks that we're probably not even going to see him this year due to the injury that he suffered in the middle of last season. But, again, I think we're really excited for Mizorowski. He's also improved his walk rate, something that he's a little bit struggled with walking batters because of his inconsistent meat, but his strikeout numbers are becoming fantastic. My belief is he will show out in the bullpen this season. I don't know if he'll be a starter yet. I think he'll only be a starter if people are injured or something. But I think the crew has to make that decision right before the season if he can start in the majors or if he needs to wait in the minors. My belief, again, I think he will be on the starting roster at the start of the season. So that's that. A lot more news, obviously, to go over, but I think a lot to be determined. It's December. I know I'm talking about the Brewers in December, but there's a lot to go over, and I understand that. Anyways, if you like what you see, subscribe below, comment with your thoughts, and as always, obviously, I got more content, and it will be coming your way. We will see you next time.